life has changed, right? Things are not the same. Let's see, somebody's entering. So we need to up our game with our personal brands. There's so much competition out there. One thing that the pandemic did, it, number one, exposed us for people who are not digitally and social media sound because people had to all communicate kind of the same way. And it also just, again, propelled us and made us get used to doing some new things, right? But now it kind of leveled the playing field. So now everybody is doing the virtual thing. A lot of people have gotten used to social media, have done social media more. So how do we rise above? How do we stand out? How do we live our brands out loud and do more? Now, some of you may be thinking, I don't even have a brand, but I guarantee you, you do. So we're going to talk about that. But let's just talk about what's all the noise that's going on around us. And I'm sure you guys feel it, right? You feel the stress sometimes, the heaviness of just the world right now, and just so many things coming at you and so many things to work through. We see it, social media, everything that's happened with the pandemic, everything that's happened with the recession and money and the economy, the racial tension that is at its height over the past 12 months. It's been quite challenging. And even the gender tension between men and women, and fairness and unfairness and pay gaps and all of that. We have so many opinions coming at us all the time. There's so much advertising because now so many people have started businesses or ended businesses or trying to compete or trying to catch up, and just the societal expectations. Who should we be? How should we be showing up? Who are we? So there's a lot that is coming at us, coming at everybody. And so in the midst of all of that, how do we stand out? How do we stand out? So let's just talk about the difference between branding and marketing. So the branding is like how I like to refer to it as the fragrance you leave behind, right? It is who you are, your core values, your promise to the world, how you're going to always show up to people, right? I mean, we change, right? Over years, we have different likes and different strengths and different passions. So I'm not saying you are completely change your brand, or if you pick a brand or have a brand, it's going to stay the same all the time. But there are certain things about us that are always going to kind of remain true. And that is part of your personal brand. It could be the way that you, again, show up for your friends, show up for your business, show up to work. We're going to talk about all these things. These kind of things define a little bit of your personal brand. And remember that analogy, it is the fragrance you leave behind. Like there is someone, we all have people in our lives, it could be you, where you wear the same kind of cologne all the time, perfume. And people remember you by that. Or if you left, you'll be like, oh, so-and-so, Joe was just here because I smell her perfume. Where is she? Right? It's something that's lasting. Your personal brand is something that is lasting. It leaves an impression on people. How are you leaving an impression on people? And so your marketing, if you have a business, an organization, if you're a leader, your marketing, right? So your marketing is how do you live that brand out in the world? How are you deciding to take everything that you are, whether you're talking about your company's brand or your personal brand? How do you take everything that you are and then distribute it, tell the story to the rest of the world? So branding is a little bit of the foundation, the who, and the marketing is kind of the how. The branding is the who and the why, because you really need to know what your why is. And then the marketing is a lot of the how am I going to tell this to the world? So I love talking about brand clarity. That is my thing. That is something that I get super, super, super passionate about. And I see it as the foundation for everything, because if you do not know, or if you're not clear on your brand, then you can't do a lot of things like you should do. Or when you show up for that interview, or I know we talk a lot in this group about launching your dream career. If you don't know what your personal brand is, how are you going to really show up for your dream career? How are you going to pull yourself together, present yourself to either an employer or to an investor or to future clients if you're not even sure or consistent with who you are? So brand clarity is super important. So with brand clarity, you need to know your personal or your business brand and the steps that you need to execute it. And making sure that your personal brand is not just about work. It's implemented throughout your whole life. And thinking about, again, that your personal brand is how people react to you. How do you make people feel? I really want you to think about that. When I show up to my friend's dinner, Friday night, I'm running a little late. I come to the dinner party. I walk in the room. How do I make people feel? Are they inspired when they see me? Do they get excited? Or they're like, oh, Lord, here she come. It's going to be some drama tonight. Or we got to hear the long list of everything that's wrong with you. Be very aware of the energy or what you bring. That's part of your personal brand. Because you don't hide it at work. That still comes out in your job. And how does your personal brand move you through your journey? You have goals. You have dreams. Is your personal brand hurting you, hindering you, or is it helping push you to and toward your career, your dreams, right? So again, just in case you're not clear, your personal brand is your story. And why do you need it? Because number one, it helps you to be competitive. We know that moving forward in the pandemic and the economy, there are a lot of people competing for jobs right now. Your personal brand, when you're clear on it, it helps you stand out. Your personal brand, when you're consistent on LinkedIn and consistent with your resume and your writing and blogging or whatever you decide to do, when people Google you, they already can tell, oh yeah, she's serious about herself, her specialty, her expertise, her industry. So it helps you to be competitive when you're clear on your personal brand. It helps you to be clear, that horrible question when people ask, so tell me about yourself. And you're like, oh my gosh, but when you're clear about your personal brand, you can kind of get that answer together. Your personal brand helps in making choices. So there are certain things I'm not going to do because I know that is not part of my future goal. It's not part of my brand. I'm not going to talk on that topic. I could easily say yes to Virginia when she asked me to speak because I know that's my lane, right? That's something I talk about. Now, if she would have asked me to speak about finances, like, Lee, come on, talk about finances. You just bought a house. You just bought a car. Like, that's not who I am, though. Like, I'm not doing that. And I'm not trying to build my brand in that place. Our time is limited. So know who you are, what your lane is, and what you want to talk about. Your personal brand helps you to be consistent, to show up consistently, to talk about the same things consistently. And finally, it adds credibility. And we all need to be working on making sure we are credible. So when I say credible, there are certain things you are not going to see on my social media because I don't want anyone to come to my social media pages, my Instagram, my Facebook, and get confused about who I am. Even if one of the attorneys that I work with, I also work at a law firm other than my personal business, if they decided to go to my Facebook page, they would not be surprised by anything. Not even the sassy pictures of me, because I like selfies, because I'm sassy at work too, right? So I don't hide, my brand is all encompassing, and you may decide or not decide to do that, but people overall, there should be some consistency and some credibility in your personal branding. And one thing I want you to remember is that everyone has a brand, whether you think you do or not. So please remember that. That is, if you don't remember anything else before we end this call, I want you to understand that you have a personal brand. That what I desire as a brand strategist is that you take control of it. So your personal brand may be what people are deciding you are, and you just don't change it. You don't know, you are not aware, but you have one. People have put labels or descriptions on you. I want you to know it, be aware of it, and if you don't like it, change it. Okay? So how do we get there? When I'm working with people on their personal brand and their brand clarity, I'm thinking about, like, how do I help them pull the story together? So you may say, you know what, Lee, I don't have the time or the finances or whatever to hire a brand strategist, but let me try to work this out on my own and make sure I'm clear. So here are a few things that I ask, and you can take a picture of this screen or write it down, and then your own personal time, write out the answers and see if there is some consistency or some common denominators in your answer. So what breaks your heart? Think about the things that break your heart, because whatever breaks your heart, that means there is a pull, there's a calling, there's usually an audience type of people that you're drawn to. There's a problem that you're looking to solve. And so understand what breaks your heart. What breaks your heart? One of the reasons I love what Virginia is doing is, one of the things that really, really breaks my heart is when people don't live on purpose. They're just wandering through life and they're not happy. Like, I love what I do. I love what I do on my 9 to 5, and I love what I do from my 5 to 10. And it breaks my heart to see people who live the majority of their lives doing stuff that they don't want to do. So I know that part of my mission and my branding and my small business is to help unbreak my heart, right? So what are you passionate about? What are those things that really get you excited? Write those things down, not just the personal thing, or not just the professional things, the great answer things. Also the personal things, because when you're thinking about your whole personal brand, not just the kind that you show up on your resume, but your whole brand, people buy and follow people that they like, right? They buy from, and you want people to have glimpses of other things about you. The other thing is, how do you want to be remembered? Think about that. How do you want to be remembered? And then keywords that you would want people to use to describe you, and keywords that you would want to use to describe you, and see if there's consistency. Just ask some friends, if you had to describe me in 5 words, how would you describe me? And see if there are some common words that come up. And then if any of you have watched TED Talks, I love watching TED Talks. They're short and they're very, very focused. And so in my brand clarity sessions, I always ask, if you had to speak on a TED Talk, what are some of the give me 2 or 3 things you would talk about that you already know so well that you could easily talk about. And when you are, when I hear that, I try to think of ways that, how does it relate to their brand? Because if you know it that well and you're that passionate about it, you can get up and talk to people about it. It needs to be part of your brand. So, pulling it all together. So again, you write down all of that, and you look for consistencies, you look for common denominators, you look for, as this book I read called, it referred to as the red threads throughout your life. What did you used to play when you were little? Did you play teacher? Did you play house? Did you play singer? You were the star singer. Those kind of little things, in its innocence, gives you a little bit of glimpse of what really drives you? What do you really like? And surprisingly, I don't even know anybody else who played this. I definitely played I had to have my microphone and put something on my head and pretend that I was a singer. But for some reason, I always played magazine editor. And I would have these papers and pretend that I was writing a magazine, and my sister was a reporter, and we would staple it, and I would go and try to sell my magazine. And so in my career journey, I've had a magazine, but at the end of the day, I love communication, and I love like putting out messages. So like think about those type things and those common denominators, those consistencies throughout your life, those red threads. And now the fun part. So let's say you've done all this, or you've already done it, and I know this is who I am, this is what I love, this is what I like, this is how I want to show up in the room, right? How are you doing it? How are you living out loud? My challenge to everyone is whatever you're currently doing, I want you to 10x it. Because you probably think, oh, I'm already doing too much. But that's in your head, right? You can do more. You can do more if you really are trying to propel and move toward something amazing. And so you can do more with your social media. I'm not saying you need 10 more selfies every week, but you may say, you know what? There are some articles that I know speak to what I'm passionate about. I should be posting more articles. I should be posting more quotes. I should be talking more about what I'm passionate about. If I decide to go to anyone's Facebook page today, I should be able to quickly see what a little bit about you. I shouldn't be confused, right? So how much are you living that out loud? And that's not just Facebook, but LinkedIn. If we're talking about business, just depending on what industry you're in. And that's the other thing. I don't know if I talk about it in this presentation, but I have a presentation where I talk about really pick one, maybe two. You can be on all social media platforms, but pick one or two where you're like, this is where I'm going to really focus. I'm going to know everything I can about this. I'm going to make sure I put my best towards this one. It's very difficult to do it for all of them. And so, find that one. Then everybody to me should have their own personal website. Even if you haven't figured out, might be like, Lee, I don't have a side hustle. I'm just trying to be the next CFO at my firm or my company or where I work. I want to be the director. That's okay. Get your name as a personal URL, buy your name, and at least have a professional headshot and a paragraph or two, or just like a resume on your website with colors that you feel like represent your brand. Just hold it so one day when you are ready to do some public speaking, you're ready to do something different, your name is already there. And I always encourage people to Google themselves and see what shows up. And you want your own website to show up. You want your name to show up, and you control your brand. And so again, living out loud. This is about 10xing it, taking it up to the next level. Thought leadership. Anything that, again, establishes you as an expert. I don't care if you make shoestrings. You need to tell me how many shoestrings in the world are made, what's the country that makes them the most. I can show you how to do it, which ones tie the best, which ones tie the worst. Whatever your thing is, be an expert at it, and then help us to see that you're an expert at it. Whether you're writing about it, you're doing videos about it, you're doing a podcast, which I'll have on my last slide, some quick tips about that. Whether you're doing a seminar like this, an online seminar, because this takes nothing to do. It takes no money for you to do that. Just some talking and coordinating with people. And it takes consistency, right? I want you to do all the stuff that we're talking about. Don't do it one time. Be consistent. Quick question from Johanna. Should you limit how many social media accounts to market yourself on? I would say, depending on your personality. So I love social media, so I don't completely limit myself. So I'm on pretty much all of them except, I mean, I have a TikTok account, but I don't know how to do it like everybody else does it. But I'm on all of them, so people would be able to find me on all of them. But I spend the most of my time doing more on Instagram. That's what I like. So even if you decide, if you like social media, that's okay if you want to do all of them. But find one that you're going to, every time they do a new feature, you're going to know about it. You're going to know how to use it. You're going to do stories. You're going to do video. You're going to maximize it. And then the other thing is, because of my career in the legal industry, I have a LinkedIn profile, but I don't treat it the same as my Facebook or my Instagram. So I switch it up and do maybe a little bit different stuff. So the key, Johanna, also is, I think I share this on the next screen, is I also use scheduling apps to help me, because I'm like, I can't every single day be posting to all these accounts. So I use Buffer, that's my favorite one, I have it connected to my LinkedIn, my Facebook, my Twitter. I never really use Twitter, but sometimes when I'm speaking at conferences, people ask me for my Twitter account and I want them to see something. So I have them linked, and then I use another one for my Instagram called Planoli, or I'm sure I'm not pronouncing it right. It's Plan OLY. And there's another one called Later. There's a lot of scheduling apps. I'm just telling you the one that I use. But scheduling, if you're really serious about your social media and you want to maximize it, try to schedule as much as you can. So, living it out loud. Let's see. So here are some tools that I use and I recommend, and I'm just going to talk about them. And there are some other great tools out there, but this is just to help you kind of get started if you're at that stage where you are not sure. And feel free to take a picture of this, or if you have one that you want to ask me about. I know a lot of different apps and tools, and I can tell you if I know something about it. So Canva, everybody should have a Canva account. It's free. You can do a million things in Canva. Literally, you can do a million things in Canva, okay? So Canva is for people who don't do graphic design. You can go in Canva, pick out a template, add some words to it, and your favorite color, add your picture, and you look like a billboard, right? I recommend Canva, and it's not just stuff for social media. You can do all kinds.
I'm listening to a webinar.
Yeah, someone please mute yourself. Let me see. I think I can mute them, or maybe they did. Okay. So, Canva is, you can do all kinds of stuff in Canva, presentations, brochures, all kinds of stuff. So everybody should have a Canva account. The free account works just fine. You could do a lot with it. One of the reasons I say I recommend Canva a lot is because when you're posting things, Canva is a good way to figure out whatever your brand colors are. And you can post quotes, you can post tips, and just put it on Canva and put it on your social media. Okay. Hold on, I'm gonna mute. There we go. All right, and then Buffer, as I mentioned, the scheduling app, or Hootsuite. I think Hootsuite now charges. Planoli is one I use for Instagram. Later is used for Instagram, but there's a ton of them out there. Buffer is free up to connecting to 4 accounts, I believe, and it's very simple. I love it. So, Teachable is another one that I use to teach. So I can record, if I have a course that I'm doing, I can record that on Zoom or anywhere, take the MP4, upload it to Teachable, and then tell people to log in and watch my course. Okay, so Teachable is a great one. You can put all kinds of stuff in Teachable. So that's good. As we know, Zoom, everyone should be familiar with using Zoom. This should be StreamYard and not SteamYard. But StreamYard is another good one for if you want to stream online. So again, like let's say Virginia said, I don't really want people to register and do this on Zoom. I want to go straight to Facebook. Let me go on StreamYard. I think you can do it free I think it is free for if you want to keep their logo on your screen and all this other stuff. But you can, just stream whatever you're doing, video you're doing to your social media. So that's another good app. Evernote is just my own personal favorite because I keep all my notes and all my business and everything I need to remember in Evernote. It's kind of like a Google Drive in a little ways, and I like it for my business, and I keep them in different notebooks within that app. Now, I have a podcast, Connecting the Dots. If you guys want to follow and subscribe, listen to my podcast. But starting a podcast does not have to be complicated. One of the apps I use is called Spreaker, and another one I've used is called Anchor, and then I've also used Buzzsprout. I think it's Buzzsprout. But all of them are pretty simple. You can make it difficult if you want, but sometimes just start off simple to make sure that you like it before you invest too much. Sometimes I'm one of those coaches where I'm like, don't buy anything yet. Like, let's just make sure you're going to stick with this, that you like it. Let's work out the kinks. And then if you really want to stay here, then let's upgrade. And most people are pretty patient with you as you're figuring it out. So that's my little 2 cents on that. Then Acuity Scheduling. I believe everybody, if you have any type of business or you're trying to do any kind of business or you talk to people a lot, you need to have a scheduling link so that people can respect your time. They know that this is business and this is not, hey, let me just call Virginia up and chat about my business for an hour. Like, nope, check the link, schedule some time with me. And then MailChimp, but there are so many others. MailChimp, Constant Contact, Active Campaign, all kinds. And that is to set up your own newsletters, set up a landing page where you may say, you know what, Lee, I'm not ready for a full-blown